Good morning, everybody. My name is Travis, and this is the Daily Travesty. Thanks, everyone that's tuning in relatively early in the morning. I mean, it is not even 8 o'clock here where I live, but got a busy Saturday today and thought that I would get a quick Theros draft in before the rest of my day gets started. So, hope everyone out there is having a nice morning. We are going to be doing a Theros Beyond Death quick draft today. We're not going to jump into it right away yet. What I thought we would do first is just take a look at the Theros collection and look at some of the commons and uncommons that are signals for this set, and just do a refresher for myself and for anyone else watching on what kind of cards we're going to be looking at for signals. Just to be clear, we are doing a quick draft. This is a draft against bots, but I will approach it as if it were a draft against players. I prefer to draft with people, and my hope is that for you, one day you will go to some local game stores and draft with people, or maybe draft with your friends. So I am going to approach the draft as if it were against players. This is not a stream about how to game the bot system and force colors. I don't enjoy that, and I don't think it teaches you how to draft properly. So we will be pretending that our bots are real people. And because of that, we are first going to look at our Theros signals. So anything in the, not thrones, anything in the Theros block that's a common or uncommon, we'll go through both, and just kind of pick out some of the major archetypes or strategies and cards that we're going to be looking at or looking for during the draft that indicate that a certain color is open. So let's go ahead and let's jump in. Thrones of I don't know why I keep saying Thrones. Theros was a set that was all about enchantments. You'll notice that there are a lot of cards that are enchantments and creatures at the same time. And there are cards with this constellation ability that gets some trigger when an enchantment comes into play. So that's definitely something that you're going to be looking at, is potentially building around enchantment type synergies. Things to look out for: Karametra's Blessing it's an okay card. I think when you're playing limited, it's good to know which kind of combat tricks your opponents might have, especially the 1-mana combat tricks. And this one was a bit annoying because any creature getting +2/+2 is fine, but if it happens to be a creature that is an enchantment or has an enchantment on it, it also gets hexproof and indestructible, and that's pretty good for 1 mana. That's like a stat boost, hexproof, and indestructible. It's all very, very good. So not a signal. I'm not saying this is a signal. It's just something to watch out for during your drafts. And if you're the enchantment deck, why not pick this up? So I don't think this card was like particularly good, except that there were some very, very aggressive decks. So if you happen to be in like the super aggressive enchantment based white deck, you might want to pick these up. You don't take them highly, but this is a card that can wheel, come around with no one else picking it up, and maybe it helps you lower your creature curve. For the same reason, Sentinel's Eyes, again, I don't think this card was particularly good, but if you are exactly in the like aggressive white enchantment deck, this is really nice because it gives you stat boost. It counts as an enchantment. It pumps up all your things that require enchantments. And this also introduces the next ability that was part of Theros, which was Escape, which means that you could just like keep recasting certain cards, even after they'd already had an effect. And in order to do that, you have to exile cards from your graveyard. So like this one, you pay 1 mana, you exile 2 cards from your graveyard, and you get to replay this card. That's really good. And that means that graveyard-based effects are really important in Theros as well. Actually, being able to take cards out of people's graveyards was really important, because if they had a really good escape card, not like Sentinel's Eyes, but an actual good one, if you could just snag it out of the graveyard, that was really big. Hero of the Pride was good in the aggressive decks, 2 mana 2/2, and whenever you target this creature, all creatures you control get a +1/+0. So not a super high pick, but something that is aggressive. Indomitable Will, this is an example of how the enchantments might come into play. This is a flash enchantment that gives a permanent stat boost. So although it's like a relatively weak stat boost, +1/+2, it's an enchantment, so it stays in play, and it's a flash card. So there is a lot of like, how do you get enchantments into play at instant speed and that kind of stuff. So something to watch out for. For that reason, something like Revoke Existence actually was way better in Theros than it usually is. 2 mana sorcery, exile an artifact or enchantment usually isn't a card that you'll put in your draft decks. Sometimes you'll take this and put in your sideboard, but in Theros, this card was actually really, really good because there's a whole bunch of creatures that are just enchantments to begin with. So this is kind of 2 mana exile a creature. It has to be an enchantment creature, but there's enough of those that this card is decent. I don't think it's a super high pick, but it's something you take like in the middle of your pack, so that you can exile things like, I don't know, this Transcendent Envoy. This Nyxborn Courser was a good defensive creature. A little bit tough to cast at double white, but something you're happy to put in your deck. Glory Bearers was like fine, but again, just an example of an enchantment creature. Okay, let's keep doing signals. So Dreadful Apathy is a signal in white, 3 mana pacifism effect, but then later on you can exile it. Again, this is important because if the creature you put it on has escape, you don't want it going to the graveyard, you just want it gone forever. This is also a way to get rid of some like indestructible creatures, etc. So Dreadful Apathy, definitely something we're looking at. There's also ways to pull enchantments out of your graveyard and replay them, and this is a great one to bring back. Heliod's Pilgrim, that's the combo with Dreadful Apathy, because you can just play Heliod's Pilgrim, find Dreadful Apathy from your library, and put it into your hand. So these two cards together is really good. And for that reason, Heliod's Pilgrim was actually a relatively high pick, because there are a whole bunch of auras that you do want to play, especially in Black-White. Black-White uses a lot of these kind of like kill your opponent's creature auras. These omens were pretty good, not huge picks, but definitely worth having. Again, flash enchantments give you some effect, and then you can sack it to scry later on. That's really nice. I think the white one's okay. Get 2 creatures and gain a couple life is pretty good. Sunmane Pegasus ended up being playable and really annoying. 4 mana 2/3 flying isn't the best, but you can just give this thing vigilance and lifelink, and it can slowly chip away at your opponent. So that's a good card. Daybreak Chimera was good as well. You can oftentimes play this for 2 or 3 mana, and a 2 or 3 mana 3/3 flying is really good. This also shows one of the other mechanics, which was devotion. So however many like mana symbols of a color you have in play is your devotion, and it makes some of your cards better. Like this costs less for each other white pip you have in play. So a nice play here would be like, you could play Nyxborn Courser on turn 3, which has 2 plain symbols on it, and then that would make Daybreak Chimera cost 3 mana on your next turn. What else do we have here? Stern Dismissal was okay. Return a creature enchantment to its hand. Just because it's cheap, not because it's particularly good, but if you're in a very tempo-y aggressive deck, this can be good. Omen of the Sea is probably the best omen, so definitely looking to pick those up. Starlit Mantle was surprisingly a good card as well. Again, a flash enchantment. It gives the thing hexproof just for that turn, and then they get a permanent stat boost. So this card was really annoying to play against. Deny the Divine ended up being, I think, okay. Counter specifically a creature and enchantment spell, but most of the cards in Theros that you wanted to counter were creatures or enchantments or both. You don't want too many of these, but there are some really powerful cards that this is worth having for. This Naid is interesting. There is a cycle of cards that it's like about playing cards on your opponent's turn, and this can make those cost less. I don't think it's a super high pick, but if you're in the like red blue play instance on your opponent's turn deck, this can be helpful. Vexing Gull was annoying and good if you are in a controlling deck, because you can hold up your counter spells, like hold up, deny the divine, pass the turn with 3 mana up, and then if they play something good, you counter it, and if they don't, you can play this 2/2 flash flying at the end of turn. Kind of like the Umbral Juke from Strixhaven, but this is a 2/2. Nyxborn Seaguard, not a super high pickup, but turns out having a 2/5 is actually just enough defense that this blocks a lot of the stuff. So if you're in a slower controlling deck, this can save you a lot of damage. It's hard to attack into a 2/5 into Theros. Trident Wave Rider, again, it has that constellation effect where it gains flying. A 4 mana 3/3 that sometimes has flying isn't great, but this was actually a win condition in those slower decks. You kind of stabilize on board with these like Sea Guards and stuff, and then you start playing enchantments and just slowly chip away at them. Witness of Tomorrows is a good card. This is an enchantment creature, so it's a little bit susceptible to more removal, but being able to scry every turn for 4 mana makes it good, and a 3/4 flyer is enough of a threat that is something you want. Okay, getting into black. Grim Physician was just a good 1-drop. It's not a big signal, but it is a card you want because it's a 1 mana 1/1 that can trade with a 2/2, so that's pretty good. Makes combat annoying. Maugus's Favor was a good card as well. This is a recursive enchantment, so you can play this and destroy a 1 toughness creature, of which there are actually a few in this set. In a pinch, you can also use it to like add extra power to one of your creatures. Like if you have a 1/3, you can turn it into a 3/2 or something. I think the best effect on this was just killing X1s, creatures with 1 toughness, and then you could keep bringing it back over and over and over again. Omen of the Dead is probably like the next best one after the blue one. Return a creature from your graveyard to your hand, then scry later on. I think Theros was like a pretty grindy format, and having ways to get extra resources like this is really good. Piper is a fine 2/1 because it gives you lots of bodies. When it dies, you get an 0/1, and there is some effects here that require you to have like tokens and stuff. Lampad of Death's Vigil. This is a win condition. It's in the black decks. It doesn't look like it, but there are a lot of games in Theros where you get into a board stall with your opponent. Maybe you've hit them down a little bit, and you have like 6 creatures in play, and if they're at 7 or 6 life or something, they're basically dead, because you just start sacrificing all your creatures and you drain them out. And when you have things like Discordant Piper, which count for 2 creatures, that helps you as well. So these cards kind of go in the same deck, where you play Lampad, you play Piper, whatever, and then later on you just start sacrificing tokens and stuff, and you just deal a ton of damage to them. Myers Grasp, super high pickup, definitely a signal. This is a card you actively want. -3/-3 kills most things you care about in the set. It's also an enchantment, and that matters. There are ways to get enchantments back and out of your graveyard or find them in your deck. So the Myers Grasp plus like Heliod's Pilgrim was also a bit of a combo. Play this Pilgrim on turn 3, find a Myers Grasp, and then you can kill something the next turn with the Myers Grasp. This Harpy is okay. I don't think it's that great, but it does have the effect of getting rid of a card from an opponent's graveyard. So that can be nice if they have a good escape card or something. So Reaper of Magus was okay. Sack a creature, draw a card. Just kind of a grindy card again to have. If your opponent targets one of your creatures with removal, you sack it, draw a card. It's pretty expensive. Like a 3 mana 2/3 isn't great, and then having to keep 3 mana up isn't great. But if you have nothing else to do on your turn, this is nice. So having one of these in your deck is pretty good. Underworld Charger, this is an escape card that's specifically aggressive. If you're not an aggressive deck, this card is not good because it can't block. But if you are aggressive, here's a 3 mana 3/3 that you can just keep bringing back as a 5/5 later in the game. That's pretty good. Hierophant is good. 4-mana 3/3 Death Touch. And you mill 3 cards when it comes into play, which is a good thing. In Theros, you want stuff in your graveyard, either because of the escape. Like, you might mill a card that has escape, and that gives you extra resources. There's also some other ways to interact with your graveyard. Final Death is 5 mana, exile anything at instant speed. I think the consensus was that Final Death was worse than Mire's Grasp, just because of the aggressive casting cost on Mire's Grasp. But either of them is good. If you have to pick between them, I think Mire's Grasp is better. Rage Scarred Berserker ended up being a good top end in an aggressive deck. Giving a creature +1/+0 and indestructible is actually decent, and a 5/4 was pretty big in Theros. Can attack and do a lot of things. Blight Breath Catablipus comes down and kills a creature for devotion. So Theros is a set where you can draft monocolor decks. Specifically, mono black, I think, was a good one for reasons like this Catoblepus. In terms of red, Omen of the Forge, I don't think ended up being great. It is fine, but dealing 2 damage to something wasn't that great. But still something you would play. Underworld Ragehound, this is an escape card, but it has to attack every turn. But in an aggressive deck, that doesn't matter, because you're going to attack every turn anyway. What else was good in red? Eros' Blessing was good. Again, this is an enchantment that comes into play, deals with your enchantment matter stuff. 4 mana, deal 4 damage to a creature is good. And then you get a +1/+1 bonus that's persistent is good. Moss Viper, these kind of cards are always decent. 1 mana, 1/1 Death Touch. Put stuff into play, and then you can kill one of their creatures later. Ooh, okay. So Return to Nature. Again, this is a card that looks kind of bad and usually isn't a super high priority in draft. But remember that there are a ton of cards that are enchantment creatures. And this also hits cards in the graveyard. So Return to Nature is actually a great pick. Like, you can pick this card pretty highly. Like, I don't know if you pick it first, but you can pick this like second or third, because yeah, there's a ton of creatures that are also enchantments that you want to kill. And sometimes they'll try and escape something that's really good, and you can exile that card from their graveyard. So Return to Nature, sneaky good in Theros. This Skirmisher isn't good, but again, if you're in a very aggressive enchantment based deck, like it's the white, mono white or white green enchantment based aggro decks, this can be good. Training, again, another enchantment that comes down, draws you a card, so that's a card that you might want in those white green aggressive enchantment decks. Warbriar's Blessing, also good. It gives your creature a toughness boost, and then you fight something, and it's an enchantment, so that's pretty good. Loathsome Chimera is really good. A 3 mana 4/1 hits pretty hard. It tends to die right away, but if it's going to be a bad trade for you, you just don't attack, and then this can block like a bigger creature later. And hey, if it dies, it has escape. Later on, it comes back as a 5/2. So this is a really good escape creature. It doesn't necessarily look like that, but this card ended up being very good. Nexus Wardens ended up being really annoying. Again, I think 4 toughness is decent in Theros, which is why Loathsome Chimera is so good, because it has 4 power to kill stuff like this. But if you have some amount of enchantments in your deck, you just keep gaining life off of this. It blocks really well. I don't think it's a high pick, but it was definitely annoying to play against. Omen of the Hunt, I don't think was very good. It is a way to go get another color of mana from your deck, and it does come onto the battlefield, so it's a little bit of mana ramp because you get an extra land. I don't think this was a high pick unless you are splashing for something really good. So if you're two colors and you have a third card, you have a card in a third color that's really, really good, then maybe Omen on the Hunt gets better. I don't think it was a super high pick. Voracious Typhon, really excellent card. 4 mana 4/4 that you can bring back later in the game as a 7/7. 7/7 is huge. Like, there's no other creature in the format that can kill a 7/7 on its own. So just playing an aggressively costed card like 4 mana 4/4 and then later knowing you can bring it back as a 7/7 is really good. Forerunner, I don't think was particularly good, but you do end up in a lot of board stalls in Theros where, like, maybe you're playing against the black deck that has a ton of these little tiny creatures, and you have a couple big green creatures. So, like, playing Typhon on turn 4 and then slamming a Forerunner on turn 5 or 6 and giving all of your stuff trample can actually end games. So if you're in a more aggressive green deck, this might be a good card to have on your top end. It also works well with Nyxborn Colossus, which is a 6 mana 6/7, which was huge as well. Notice that this card doesn't even fight with the Typhon after you've escaped it. But this was like the biggest creature you could get. And it turns out that this card was actually actively good. Like, having one or maybe two of these in your mid-range green decks was good. It was really hard to deal with, except that it's an enchantment. So if your opponent has enchantment removal, then you kind of get screwed by playing this. I think Traveler's Amulet is good. Normally, if you're in any deck, you play this and you take out a land. So you play 16 lands plus a Traveler's Amulet, because this basically counts as a second land, but it fixes for whichever color you're missing. So I think that's pretty good. I don't think Wings of Hubris was very good in this set. This is a card that can sometimes win you games. Like, if you have a bunch of these Nyxborn Colossi and stuff, sometimes slapping a Wings on it will just win you the game because you can attack for 6 in the air. I don't think Wings of Hubris ended up being that important in Theros, but it is something worth noting. Altar of the Pantheon is just a way to fix colors. I don't think you play this card that often, but it is a way to get any color of mana. And there are actually a surprisingly high number of gods. Hi, Leanie. How's your morning going? Or I assume morning. I mean, it's morning over here in the north and western hemispheres, but welcome, Leanie. Yeah, hoping to do some Theros this morning. The last thing I was just going to say about Altar is that there are a surprisingly large amount of gods and demigods in this set. It's like kind of playing off of Greek mythology a bit. And so you have some commons that are god creatures or demigods. So you can actually gain a bit of life off of Altar too. I don't think that makes it that much better, but something worth noting. Let's take a quick look at uncommons here as well. So Daxos is an example of a demigod. This card is great. You just gain a bunch of life off of your creatures. And this thing gets huge toughness because of its devotion to white. Like, it comes down as a 2/2. And then any white card you play after this just makes it bigger. Alseid was pretty good because you can just protect something you have. Notice that you can also give an enchantment you control protection, not just a creature. So kind of an annoying card to play against, because if you have removal, you can't just kill the things you want to kill. Heliod's Punishment. This is a bad card. Don't play this. It looks like it kills anything for 2 mana, but really they just start tapping it, they remove counters, and then 4 turns later they have their creature back. I could see a case for this in a really, really aggressive deck, but I don't think it's worth playing Heliod's Punishment. Banishing Light, super good, super big signal for white. Just exile any non-land permanent. Really good. Notice that there are more ways to kill enchantments in this set, and people are playing them more often. So Banishing Light is still great, but it's more likely that your opponent will kill Banishing Light, and then they get their thing back. Commanding Presence was begrudgingly really good. If someone slaps this down on turn 4 and you don't have a blocker, and they just start making 1/1s with it, it's annoying. And +2/+2 in First Strike is actually a good stat boost. So really annoying card. I don't think you take it that highly, but it is something worth noting. This Lagana Band Storyteller I think is pretty good. This is an example of how you can get enchantments back from your graveyard. Usually you're using this to get one of the removal spells back, like the 2-mana black -3/-3, or the Dreadful Apathy, the 3-mana pacifism in white. I think Reverent Hoplite was okay. It depends how many like cards like Daxos and other things you have. Nyxborn Courser. You just want a whole bunch of white mana symbols in play, and then you can make a bunch of 1/1s. Archon of Falling Stars was good. 6-mana 4/4 flying is a threat on its own. And then when it dies, you get an enchantment from your graveyard to the battlefield. So this, again, is a way to recur your enchantments that are removal spells, like the Dreadful Apathy, the 3-mana white pacifism effect. In blue, Sweet Oblivion Sweet Oblivion is a win condition. You mill a player for 4, and if there's a board stall, you can just start escaping this card and milling your opponent out. So this is a card that you probably always play in a blue deck, and sometimes you might even splash for this card. I think that's rare, but if your deck doesn't have ways to win and it's a super slow deck, you might just splash for this card and mill your opponent. Games in Theros can go pretty long, and this is a way to like make sure that your opponent decks before you do. Illyrios Enraptured is good. It's just you get 2 creatures for the price of 1. When the 3/2 token dies, you get a 2/3. So that card is just very good for 3 mana. One with the Stars is decent because it kills any creature, but it also is an enchantment. Like, I don't know, it just comes down, and you can actually enchant an enchantment with this as well to prevent some effects. Like, there's the God cards in this set that are enchantments, and this can actually prevent them from becoming creatures. Shimmering Chimera is super good. 4-mana 3/2 flying is okay, but being able to return enchantments to your hand is actually huge because there's a ton of constellation effects, things that trigger when you play enchantments. So this card is awesome. There's just so many uses for this card. Shoalkraken ended up being okay as well. It's not the best, but again, whenever you play an enchantment, you get to draw a card and discard a card. Is pretty good, especially at the end of the game. You can keep lands in your hand and then play enchantments, draw a card, discard a land, and 5 toughness. Again, 5 toughness is what makes this card better because it's really hard to attack into 5 toughness in this set. Creatures kind of top out at 3 power or 4 power if they're really good. Hateful Eidolon is good in black. This is a combo with all the enchantment removal. So, like, especially Mire's Grasp, the 2-mana -3/-3 enchantment. Hateful Eidolon plus Mire's Grasp is really nice because you just draw extra cards off of the trigger. Mire Triton is good. 2-mana 2/1 Death Touch. And you mill 2 cards, so you might mill yourself a escape card or something. Timoret is awesome, and the reason for that is that it can exile cards from people's graveyards. So basically, if you play this, any of the escape cards that your opponent has, when they die, you can just get rid of them, and then they don't get the extra value off of it. This card is awesome. Notice that it's a legendary creature, so you can put more than one in your deck, just don't try and play more than one at a time. Elspeth Nightmare, super good. Destroy a small creature, get a card out of their hand, exile their graveyard, which could be a useful effect. So very, very nice card. I don't think Inevitable End was that good. I think it's okay in a pinch, but the problem is that normally the opponent will just sacrifice whatever you uh, equip this on. But if your opponent has a bunch of creatures, they might keep the creature you put it on and sack their weaker creatures. So you have to be kind of careful with Inevitable End. Drag to the Underworld is good, 4 mana, but it usually costs 2 if you're in a black deck, because its cost gets reduced. So like if you play Timuret, all of a sudden Drag to the Underworld costs 2 mana, which is great. Ooh, Farika's Spawn. This card is awesome. This is a really good escape card. So 4 mana 3/4 is decent, but when you escape this, it becomes a 5/6 and an opponent sacrifices a creature. So it doesn't even matter what they get. You got a 5/6 and they have to sack something, and you can keep replaying this from your graveyard. This card is awesome. Grey Merchant of Asphodel, also known as Gary, is really good. Again, you can play a mono black deck, and this is an awesome way to just like have a bit of reach, meaning that when you're in a board stall and your opponent has not that much life left, but you can't hit them, you can play Gary and drain them out a little bit. And if you can play this multiple times, like if it dies and you bring it back from your graveyard and play it again, that's really good. I don't know if the sacrifice theme in Theros was that strong. There are some cards that pay you off for sacrificing things. I think to a minor extent it is, but usually that's not what you're doing. Careless Celebrant's good. 2 mana 2/1. When it dies, deal 2 damage to a creature. It just means that it trades up really well. You can kill 2 small things with it or 1 big thing. Anax, obviously, this might be a card that you've seen. But super good. It always comes down as a 2/3. It's usually bigger. And then anytime one of your creatures dies, you get a 1/1 at least. Like, that's pretty decent, right? I don't think Dreamstalker Manicore was particularly good. This is, again, the sort of blue-red play spells on your opponent's turn card. That being said, if you have a really good deck that does that, then maybe you want this because you can deal extra damage to things and ping things out. Fateful End is okay. 3 mana, deal 3 damage. I don't think it kills the things you want to kill that often, but that you would definitely always play these, and you get to scry off of it, which is nice. You can also deal damage to your opponent, so this card is decent. What else? Mystic Repeal. This card is awesome as well, for the same reason that the other destroy enchantment effects are good. This is basically a 1 mana instant that kills a creature. Not every creature, but a lot of the creatures you're going to be playing against are enchantment creatures. And I know it says put it on the bottom of its owner's library, but that's basically killing something. Like, even if they shuffle their deck, they have to redraw it. So Mystic Repeal is awesome. Destiny Spinner is pretty good. Well, 2 mana 2/3 by itself is just good. And then later on, if you have a bunch of enchantments, you can start animating your lands, and just attacking them with giant land creatures. Horde Beetle's good if you have a way to pump it reliably. Nessian Wander is really good. This is a card you definitely want. It can block early on, and when you're playing your enchantments, you get extra lands out of your deck. It's awesome. I think Nyx Herald was decent. At minimum, it's the 3 mana 3/4 on the attack, and sometimes it pumps up a different enchantment creature you have. Renata was okay. I think you don't want too many 4 mana cards, but this does make every other creature you play come into play with a +1/+1 counter, so that's really good, right? Fierce Band Brawler is a bit expensive, but also a decent card. 6 mana 4/4, fight another creature. It's good. Staggering Insight is a really nice aura if you're in blue-white, giving something +1/+1 in lifelink, and you draw cards. Like, if you put this on a flying creature, that's really good for you. Rise to Glory was awesome. This is a card you want to play, and sometimes you splash this card as well. You basically get two things back, especially if you're playing the like Mire's Grasp, the Dreadful Apathy, enchantment removal cards. This is awesome. You get a creature back to the battlefield and an aura back to the battlefield. So Rise to Glory, awesome. Like these other cards are good, but they're not like if you're in blue red, you're gonna play this 2-mana 2/2 flyer. If you're in green red, you're gonna play this 3-mana 4/4, that kind of stuff. Ooh, Eutropia, the twice favored. This was a really good card that was also splashable. When an enchantment comes into play, something you have gets a counter and gains flying. Sometimes you're targeting this card, but sometimes you're targeting other stuff. And basically, you're just making like flying threats that get bigger and bigger. So really nice card there. And Entrancing Liar is a good pickup because it's colorless. And it's awesome. You just like tap a creature, and then if they play something better, you untap Liar and tap that thing. But it basically gets rid of their biggest creature for the rest of the game. Whatever their biggest creature happens to be. So that's a really nice card. And that's it for Signals. So that was a good chunk of time spent on Signals in Theros. I'm excited to get to the games. So let's go ahead and jump into our draft. Shout out to everybody that's joining us on the stream this early in the morning. Welcome. I hope you're having a nice morning. And sadly, I ran out of gold playing Cube. I played a ton of Cube and I didn't do very well. So we're gonna have to spend some gems today, but that's okay. Just as a reminder, we are doing a quick draft, but I am not going to approach it like a quick draft. I'm not going to try and game the bots. I'm going to draft the same way I would with human opponents. Maybe that's at the end of the day suboptimal, but I would rather share information about how to draft properly and how to draft with people, because ideally that's what you're going to be doing in your life. So we're going to pretend like this is a player draft. And what do we got here? Well, Archon of Sun's Grace is awesome. 4-mana 3/4 flying lifelink, already good. And then if you play, every time you play an enchantment, you get a 2/2 flying lifelink creature. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. This is going to be a card that's hard to pass. And we're going to be looking to be in a white-blue flying deck, or maybe a mono-white deck, or a white-black deck. Are the most likely archetypes here. I guess you could be in a white-green aggressive deck as well. There's so much in Theros because it's not college-based like Strixhaven. You can do almost any color combination. So we're definitely taking that. Other cards to note: Daybreak, Chimera. Again, this can be like a 2 or 3 mana 3/3 flyer, which is really nice. Witness of Tomorrows is a nice flyer as well. I think Acolyte of Affliction was decent. 4 mana 2/3, return a permanent to your hand. I don't think you play this on turn 4 that often, but sometimes you will. And if you can get something good back, that's a decent card. But we're definitely taking the awesome Archon. This card is playable in like some constructed formats. It's just awesome. So we want to try and maximize our enchantments at this point. Well, here's our Sweet Oblivion win condition. I don't know how early you take this, but like I said, this is a card that you do want to put in your deck if you're blue, because you can just win by milling them. Even if you mill them 8 cards, sometimes that's enough. But let's see what else we have. Ooh, Heliod's Pilgrim. So because we just took a white card, I think this card you can actually pick pretty highly. And again, there is the Dreadful Apathy, which is a common in white, which is an aura that you want to go get. It's like a pacifism effect. It makes a creature not able to attack or block. So I do like that here. I'm also looking at things like Omen of the Sea, which is just a decent blue card. Again, Fierce Band Brawler I think is decent, but it's pretty expensive. So I think I'm going to take the Pilgrim here. It's possible that... Yeah, actually, I don't even think it's that close. If we had taken a blue card to start, I would probably look at maybe one of these. But this Pilgrim is just so good in white. And we're already in white, and we do want to play a white enchantment-based deck here. So that's definitely worth looking at. White or white-black. And here we see a bunch of good black cards. I don't think Dawn Evangel was that great. I think it was just hard to set up. So if a creature dies and it had an aura you controlled attached to it, and you have a creature card worth 2 or less in your graveyard, then you get a minor effect. I think that's too difficult. Flicker of Fate I don't think is a particularly good card, but if you have cards like Pilgrim that have an enter the battlefield ability, if you have a bunch of those, then maybe Flicker of Fate gets better. I also see Fateful End, but I don't think White-Red was particularly good. And there's some good black cards here, so I would rather take a good black card. And based on where we're at, I'll just take the removal spell. It would be better if this was a Mire's Grasp, the 2 mana -3/-3, because we already have the Pilgrim. But I'm going to start with the removal spell. Yeah, good morning, Ryan. Yeah, Archon of Sun's Grace, a nice first pick here. All right. So a couple things in this pack of note. Blight Breath Catoblepas is good. It's better if you can be more of a black deck, because you want to play this and you want to kill something that's like a 4 toughness creature or a 3 toughness creature. It always comes down and gets rid of a 2 toughness creature, but you want to do a little bit more than that, I think, for 6 mana. I don't think Hero of the Winds was particularly good. I think you can play this card, but it's better in the low to the ground aggressive white decks where you're targeting your own creatures with like Indomitable Whale, the 2 mana +1/+2 flash enchantment and stuff. Nyxborn Courser could be a card we play because of the Archon. We would get a 2/2 Pegasus and get the 2/4. And I do think having, like, I think this card blocks pretty well. I don't know how early you take it. Also noticing like some blue cards here, which might be a signal that blue is more open. But because we're trying to be in white and we already took a Final Death and this is a nice black card, I'm going to take the Catoblepa. But it might be better to take more white cards and try and signal that white is cut off. But I think Catoblepas is just more powerful. And we might not even be playing white, right? That's the thing about draft, is you can't get stuck on your first card. We would love to play this Archon, but we might not be in white. We might be black-blue, based on how this is going. But now we see 2 good white cards, so we're definitely going to take a white card for our deck. And both of these are decent. Omen of the Sun is nice, especially if you have instants in your deck. You can hold up mana to play your instant. If you don't need to, then you can flash this in. It scries. It makes 2 1/1s. It's an enchantment for our Archon. I think the Sunmane Pegasus is also totally fine, but it is a bit expensive, and I want probably exactly one of these in my deck. I probably don't want more than that. So I'm going to start with the cheaper card that has more utility. And then later on, I would love to have one of these Sunmane Pegasi, but I don't want it this early. So I'll just take the good Omen here. Okay, well, this is a bit of an interesting pack. I don't want to play Sentinel's Eyes. In the super, super aggressive mono white or green white enchantment decks, you can play this, but I don't think it's worth a card in our deck. Even if we have Archon, it's not worth it. So this is kind of interesting because Discordant Piper is a good 2-drop in black. You usually just trade it off and then you get a token out of it. And we already have 2 good black cards. But there are 3 really good green cards here. Like we said in the earlier Signals review, Return to Nature is awesome. Like you are killing a lot of creatures with this because there are a lot of enchantment creatures. you can exile a card from a graveyard, which can be super important. Another band brawler, but Nessian Wanderer is a really good 2-drop in a green-white enchantment deck, especially. Like, you play this and you're just pulling lands out of your deck. You never miss a land drop at that point, usually. Like, that's really good. So, although I would be happy to have a Piper in a black deck, I think Return to Nature and Nessian Wanderer are both much better. So I'm going to speculate a bit. I'm actually going to take this Return to Nature. I think this card is just very important. But Wanderer is so good too. Kind of tough to say here. I'm just going to take the Return to Nature. I still think we might be white-black, but I'm just going to speculate a bit on this green card and see what comes up. Okay, well, here there are enough better black cards that we probably won't play this Return to Nature, but I think it is still worth noticing those things. Like, we're not gonna miss a 2-mana 2/1 here. Both of these cards are good. Grim Physician is a nice low to the ground card that can trade up. Venomous Hierophant is really good, given that it has Death Touch. So I think here we're probably going to take the Venomous Hierophant. I'm not saying anything about Triumphant Surge. Generally, these types of removal spells that only target creatures that have like power 4 or more aren't super high picks, and you don't always play them. A lot of limited, a lot of draft is smashing smaller creatures together. Like, you want your removal spells to be able to kill anything, kind of like this Final Death. It can kill anything. Triumphant Surge, what if your opponent just plays a bunch of like Venomous Hierophants and then you never get to kill them? So this isn't a super high pick. Traveler's Amulet would also be fine in any deck, but because there are already good black cards here, I'm just going to take a good black card. And same thing here. Omen of the Dead is a really nice black card. It's an enchantment, works well with Archon. We might not even be in white. We haven't seen a ton of white recently. I don't think Farika's Libation is that good. Basically, your opponent is sacrificing their worst creature or enchantment. Sometimes you can get them, like if their best creature in play is an enchantment creature and all their other creatures aren't enchantments, then you're like, oh, sack an enchantment, and they have to get rid of their good creature. But I don't think this card is a super high priority. Omen of the Dead is just really good. Again, the games in Theros tend to be really grindy, so having a way to bring back your really good stuff is good, and the Scry ability is nice as well. And here we have a Rage Scarred Berserker. Having one of these as a top end in your deck is nice. This is pretty big. It attacks well, and it makes something else indestructible the turn it comes into play, so you can punch in for some damage. Not really interested in these red cards, although we did see a ton of red. Sweet Oblivion is still here. I might take this right now. I don't think I'm going to play it, but you never know. And again, you can splash for this, and it can be a win condition in your deck. Nice. Okay, well, it's good to see that there's a bunch of black coming around. Notice that we saw almost no white cards in our first, after the first couple picks. Like, we took Archon first, Pilgrim second, and then Omen we took third or fourth. And after that, we didn't really see a ton of white. So I'm thinking white's probably not open. That doesn't mean we're going to abandon it. I mean, like, white is the color we have most of after black. But I'm not going to prioritize white. I don't know if white is a color we're going into. We might end up in black-green or black-blue at this point as well. Here, I'll just take the cheap card. We already have one Omen of the Dead. You can play more than one of these, I think, but I would rather take some creatures before I take the second Omen. Yeah, see, there's even blue cards here. Neither of these blue cards is particularly good. Although this does mill our opponent slightly, and we already have the Sweet Oblivion. Eidolon isn't that great, so I don't think Sage of Mysteries is that good, but if we end up in some kind of mill deck, which is a thing in Theros, that might be something we take. So I'll take it. I don't think we'll play it. Neither of these cards is particularly interesting in red. So just kind of junky cards. And another card in red we're not interested in. So it looked like there was a bit of red coming around, but we didn't end up having to take red cards highly, and I don't really want to be in red if I can help it. I mean, said in this pack, it's all good red cards. I mean, Phoenix of the Ash is really good. 3 mana, 2/2 flying haste, and you can bring it back later. Fateful End, just solid removal spell. These are like whatever red cards. I don't think Metamize Prophecy is a card we want. Scry 2, choose a card name, draw 2. I think this card is okay. It's kind of slow. You basically 2 mana Scry, and then you pick what you're going to pick. So you play this on turn 2, you Scry. On turn 3, you choose a card name in your hand, but you don't play it. And then on turn 4, you play the card you named last turn to draw 2. That's okay. Because we're not really in blue yet, I don't think I would take this. This is a card I would take if it like wheeled around the table. Here's an Indomitable Will if we wanted to stick with the white-black plan. Enchantment comes down. Enchantments are important in white-black. Yeah, so this is kind of a mediocre white card that goes well in our white-black deck. But like Phoenix in the Ash is really good. Fateful End is really good. Just as a heads up, like we're not taking signals from this pack because it's the first pick in pack 2. None of the other players at the table have seen these cards. So we can't be like, oh, red is open. Look at all these red cards. Like we just open this. It's just random. But what I'm thinking about is that the last couple picks in the last pack had a bunch of red cards. And that means that the other players weren't taking red in pack 1. So maybe red is open. And for that reason, I'm probably going to speculate on a red card here. I don't think Indomitable Will is good enough to just slam here, especially because we didn't really see a ton of white at all. Our first 3 picks were white, and then we saw mostly black and blue. For that reason, I'm just going to take the Phoenix. I think this card is awesome. It's the best card in the pack here. And maybe we end up in some kind of red-black deck. I think we definitely want to play black. But I'm going to take the better card over just like kind of like a mediocre card in our color. If there was a really good white card here, I would take it. Obviously, if there was a really good black card, I would take that. But I'm just going to take the red card and see what happens. Neither of these red cards are cards I do want to play. It was just noticing the signals more than anything. All right, here we have Mire Triton, which is a really nice 2-drop. It has Death Touch, so it trades with anything. You can mill a bit, gain some life. This Chimera is nice, but we're not playing red-blue. A couple more red cards in the pack. Lampad of Death's Vigil. Like I said, this is a win condition in Theros. You just flood the board with creatures, and then you sack all your creatures and drain them out. So I'm probably going to take Lampad here. The thought I have why I wouldn't, I do want this card, 100% want this card, but if no one else at the table takes it, I can take something else this pack and still get the Lampad later. But this is a super high pick. If this was a player draft, I would definitely take this. But again, this is like, I don't think it's proper draft strategy, but maybe the bots don't want this card as much. Notice Loathsome Chimera and Warbrier's Blessing, both good green cards, but we're not going to play green. We took that one Return to Nature on speculation and then didn't really pay off. So I'm going to take one of the black 2-drops. I would rather have Lampad, but I kind of want both. So I'm just going to take the safe pick and take the Lampad. You can even like sack your Grim Physicians and stuff and do some funky stuff. Omen of the Dead brings creatures back that you can sack again. So that's all good. Well, you know what goes well with sacking creatures? Creatures that give you more creatures when your creatures die. I still don't know if we're going to end up in red, but at this point, like if we take an axe, we have a Nax and Phoenix of the Ash, and already those two cards are looking slightly better than Archon and everything else. Like Archon's the best card we have, but we're probably not playing it at this point. Voracious Typhon's really good in green. I don't think either of these black cards is worth taking. I don't think Agonizing Remorse was that good in Theros. It's a card you can play, but I don't think it's like that high priority. So I'm just going to take the really good red card. Again, we thought maybe red was open. We're not passing anything too crazy. I don't know. Maybe we're supposed to be in like black-green. Okay, well, both of these two drops are really good for us. I think we're kind of off the white plan at this point. Again, we see more good green in here, but Discordant Piper is a nice 2-drop. It works well with Lampad of Death's Vigil. I do really like Careless Celebrant as well in red. It trades up. Like you can kill a 4 toughness creature with this, or you can kill two toughness creatures. But I think because we're definitely locked into black, we'll just take the black card. And maybe we'll get that Careless Celebrant back if none of the other players are taking red cards. Ooh, One with the Stars is nice, but we're not going to be in blue. Omen is good. We're not going to be in blue. I'm just going to take Traveler's Amulet here. It in a 2-color deck, it fixes your colors. You play 16 lands plus Traveler's Amulet, and then this kind of counts as your second land. And you get the color you're missing. If we end up splashing like Sweet Oblivion, this could also be good. So I'm going to take that here. There are really good blue cards here to take. Is that silly? I don't want to swim around too much. I don't think we're going to be a mill deck. I'm pretty sure we're going to be black-red based on how the draft's going. And this just keeps us open a bit. I don't think I'm splashing One with the Stars, so we'll just take the Traveler's Amulet here. I really wanted the first Rage Scarred Berserker. The second one is a little bit worse because it's a bit too expensive. Hi, Madison. Of course I would be in black-green. That's right, Madison, we only draft black-green. But that was in Strixhaven, and this is a completely different set. Why would the gods of Theros respect the tenets of the Witherbloom College? So I think you're talking about Rage Scarred being good, and we do have one already. I don't think Cling to Dust was a card you play in Theros Draft. This is a card that gets played in Standard, but I don't think it's a card we play in Draft. What does this do? Target creature gains trample. And then you fight something. I don't think that's that good. I don't think this is good. Was Aspect any good? Your opponent discards 2 cards, and then you give a creature permanent lifelink. I think this card was okay. It's a bit expensive, but if you can get them to discard 2 cards, that's actually decent. Yeah, that's right, Madison. I don't think this was the worst card. So I might actually just take the Aspect here. Let's take a look at what our mana curve looks like. Like, I already have some expensive cards. I don't want to just take another expensive Berserker. Maybe this will wheel, but I'm actually going to take the Aspect. I mean, putting this onto, like, Phoenix of the Ash isn't the worst thing. Turn 3, Phoenix. Next turn, give it lifelink, and they discard 2 cards. That might be okay. Here, I don't think Funeral Rites was that great. Although you do draw 2 off of it. The Rapid Flames was playable, but I think only in, like, a very, very aggressive, maybe a red-white deck. You basically want to play this on turn 4. They can't block, and then you kill them that turn. Portrait of Betrayal is a bit too expensive. It looks like a combo with Lampad because you gain control of a creature attack with it and then you sack it, but we already have one in the sideboard, and I think 4 mana steal a creature just isn't worth it. Starlit Mantle was annoying to play against. And we have been seeing a little bit of blue. Maybe I just speculate and take this Mantle just in case. I think we want to be black-red, but I think I'll just take this Mantle. We're off the green thing. Vexing Gull is fine. 3 mana 2/2 flash flying. I think that's better than 3 mana 2/2 loot. So red not as open in pack 2, and that happens sometimes. Red was like a little bit open in pack 1, and now it looks like it's being cut off. You would still hedge for the black-white deck. Hey, I mean, we have 2 good red cards. Some mediocre blue, and 3 really good white. So yeah, you're right, Madison. We could still be black-white. And that's the thing about drafting, is like you swim around a little bit, and sometimes it's hard to say where you end up. We already have some 4 mana cards. This card is good in an aggressive deck, and our black-red deck doesn't look that aggressive. It looks a little bit more grindy. I don't think Rumbling Sentry is worth taking in white right now. 6 toughness is huge. There's really only 1 creature in the format that can attack through this, but I'm just going to take this Cyclops and see what happens. And here, yeah, I mean, I think we're going to be in red, so. Okay, Stampede Rider is not awful. There is a sub-theme of having creatures with power 4 or greater. I don't know if black-red is the color for that necessarily, but we already have some things with power 4, and I mean, with an axe, this is not bad. So, sure, it's a 3-drop. Well, it's kind of hard to tell. And this is the thing. Again, we are drafting as if we were at a table with other people. I know this is a bot draft, and sometimes it's really hard to determine what the bots are doing. But like sometimes it looks like green is open, sometimes it doesn't. So we'll just take the red cards here and see what we get in pack 3. So nice. Nightmare Shepherd is awesome. 4 mana 4/4 flying, already good. And then if anything you have dies, it comes back into play as a 1/1. You know what likes having things that come back into play as 1/1s? Lampad of Death's Vigil. So Shepherd is definitely the pick here. Card's amazing. If we were in the white deck, this would be a nice pick. Nothing in this pack is better than Shepherd. We're definitely taking it. But just to note, like, this is a good card in white black, because if you have the good enchantment removal, you can bring it back. Another Physician that we might want to wheel. It's good fodder for Death's Vigil and stuff. But we're definitely taking the Nightmare Shepherd. Underworld Ragehound, not awful if we end up in the red-black deck. It is a good aggressive card, but we're definitely taking Shepherd here. And we're still not really sure what our second color is. We're definitely playing black. This pack is going to determine what we're going into. Okay, so let's start to clean this up a bit. We're not in green. We haven't taken enough green cards, even though these green cards are decent. We are probably not in blue. I don't think Sage of Mysteries is a card we're interested in. And none of these cards are particularly powerful. And so we have to pick between red and white. We didn't really get any good targets for the Pilgrim. So Pilgrim is actually not good in this deck. We don't have any of the enchantment removal. And I don't really want to play Pilgrim to get Aspect. So based purely on number of cards, I think we're probably playing red. And the reason why I'm going through this strategy of looking at everything is because there's a really good red card here. 4 mana removal spell, something gets a permanent +1/+1 bonus. Or really good cheap costed flyer in white. And I want to pick between these two cards, and I think because we saw more red, I'm just going to take the removal spell. If white ends up being open this pack, will be a little bit sad, but because this card's good, but I'm just going to kind of dig into red, black, and see what happens. So we have a couple picks here. There's a Scavenging Harpy, which can snipe something from the graveyard, and it can attack on its own. I don't think there was a ton of flying in Theros, so having flyers is good, and we can put the blessing onto the Harpy to make it attack a bit better. I think we do need some 2-mana cards, and because we're a little light on stuff at 2 mana, I would rather take this Ragehound than this Omen. And because we already have some good 3-mana cards if we're red, I'm just going to take the white out now. Goodbye, Archon. Because we're already have a couple good 3-mana cards, I might just take this Ragehound. And that makes our deck look a little bit more aggressive. Even just one card like this can make you change the strategy of your deck to be more aggressive. So we want less things like Omen, and we want more things like good 2-drops. This Phoenix is an aggressive card. Berserker is an aggressive card. So I'm going to take the 2-drop here. What is Storm Herald? Yeah, see, we don't have a ton of auras, so I don't even think this card's that good, even if you have a bunch of auras. There's another 4-mana card here, which can be a little bit tricky in combat. There's Aspect of the Manticore, which can be a little bit tricky. Gives something first strike and +2/+0. It only gets first strike for 1 turn, but sometimes that's enough to be annoying to the opponent. And we have a couple small creatures, so maybe Aspect of the Manticore is decent. Currently at 13 creatures. We want more 2-mana cards, but I don't think Arena Trickster is where our deck is. In the blue-red deck, this card is still not great, despite what Madison thinks. But oh, we're losing our text. That's not good. I hope this doesn't... Oh, no. Okay, so Arena's doing that thing where it loses all the text. I think I can actually exit out of the draft and come back in. That's probably worth doing. So just bear with me, chat. Because this is a quick draft, we can actually exit the program and come back, and it should save it. And let's see if it... Okay, the text came back. Whew. Okay, well, this is a nice 2-drop. Sometimes you can give it first strike. Sometimes it gets more powerful. Our deck really isn't built around the sacrifice theme except for Lampad. So I think this is good. If we didn't have Lampad, I think I would probably just take Discordant Piper, which is a card I do want in this deck. But is Piper just better than Slaughter Priest? Like, how often are we actually using this ability? Whereas I know that I want fodder for like Death's Vigil and stuff. Like, is it better just to take the Death's Vigil? Or the Discordant Piper, rather, than this? I might just take Discordant Piper here. I don't actually think this card's that good. I mean, this can be a 4/2 first. I guess this attacks pretty well, and we might have other times to pick that up. Sure. I'll take this card. That's kind of close for me. If we had 2 of these Lampads, I would definitely slam the Discordant Piper, but I'm going to take the Slaughter Priest here. Just higher upside. Another aggressive 2-drop. Here's Maugus's Favor, which I think is good. It's less good if we have these like 1 toughness cards. Usually you're using this to kill your opponent's 1 toughness creatures, but I think because we do want more creatures and we want to be an aggressive deck, I'll just take this Ragehound. That might be wrong. Mogus's favor might just be better here. But where we're at, I think I just want more creatures. Oh, okay, and then there was another one. We already have some higher costed stuff. How many of these Rage Hounds can you take? Because we already have Aspect of the Manticore, that makes the first attack with Rage Hound a bit better, so I'm going to take it. I think that's better than another Stampede Rider. Just be as aggressive as we can be. Here there's nothing for us, so I'll just take the card there. 4 mana, 4/3. Not really something I want. And we got enough creatures, so. Oh, this is whenever you sacrifice a permanent. Maybe it's worth taking the second Traveler's Amulet because of the Slaughter Priest. Something to think about. Here we have a Temple Thief, which can be annoying. I mean, sometimes they just play enchantment creatures and they can't block this card. Wrap in Flames, probably not in this deck. So I'll just take the 2-drop here. Oh, and the Harpy came around. I would play the Harpy in this deck. And yeah, Maze Warden, sure, why not? Oh, and an Omen of the Forge. Okay, so I think we actually did a pretty good job of finding the open lane there. It is possible we are supposed to be in green-red of all things. But we saw a lot of black in pack 1 and a decent amount of red. And then we didn't see a ton of red in pack 2, but I don't think you take as many signals from pack 2 because the table is like going the other way. And I think locking into red was good there because we ended up getting a bunch of red cards. So I don't know if this deck is like particularly awesome, but it just shows how like if you find the open lane, you end up with more cards, and now we have cards to cut. And that's kind of what you want in draft. You want enough cards that you have to take some things out. You don't want to be scrapping for playable cards. So I took one of the Traveler's Amulets out. We're definitely playing one as a land, so I'll actually take both out right now. I don't think we're going to play 2, even though it does have some synergy with Slaughter Priest. And at this point, I'm going to go through, take out the cards I think are the worst, and then start to build the deck back up. So I like Catoblepas. It comes down and it kills something right away. Sometimes it can kill bigger things. I don't think this Scophus War Leader is that big of a priority. It is a way to win games. Like, you can sack a different creature and it gets Menace, which is nice. I think the Rage Scarred Berserker is better than the Scophos War Leader, so I'm going to start by taking War Leader out. Again, we might add these cards back in. I just go through and I take out the cards that are going to have the least impact on the game. And then I start to build back up from there. So what are the cards I'm really excited to play? I don't think Stampede Rider's that good, but I do know that I would want 3 mana creatures, so I'm going to leave it in. I don't know. I think 3 Rage Hounds is probably a bit too much. I would rather have another Discordant Piper. So we had that pick where we weren't sure which to take. I would rather have taken the Discordant Piper because we got a whole bunch of Rage Hounds after that. I think I want to play as many 2-drop creatures as I can because this deck is looking to be aggressive. Omen's going to be good because it helps us be grindy if our opponent is killing a bunch of stuff. So the best cards in our deck are Nightmare Shepherd, Final Death, Iras's Blessing, Catoblepa, Anax, Phoenix, Lampad's good. Okay, so we need a few, well, we actually have a good amount of creatures, so I'm happy to just add non-creature spells to this. Now let's go look and see what we have. I think this Aspect of the Manticore is actually going to be good in our deck. We're going to be attacking with X1s a lot of the time, like these 3/1 Rage Hounds, and we want them to survive as many turns as they can. So I think having Aspect of the Mana Core is actually going to be decent, even though I don't think this card is particularly good. We do need a couple more removal spells, ways to get rid of our opponent's creatures and be assertive about it. We really only have these two and Catoblepa. So I think for that reason, this Omen is going to be good enough. I don't think this card is particularly a high priority, but because we're short on removal spells, we're going to play the Omen. Stampede Rider is better if we have a creature with power 4 or greater, but it's not required. Anax can be big enough. If we escape these, they can be big enough. Shepherd is big enough. Eros' Blessing can actually make something else bigger. This is big enough. So maybe we want some more cards that have power 4. And for that reason, I think I might play this Maze Warden. This card is nice because you can, if they don't have anything to block with, you can pump it up. And it can trade up sometimes. The absolute biggest it can be is a 6/1. And that will kill most things in the format. So I think playing that Maze Warden is going to be good enough. Flummox Cyclops is fine when you're aggressive, but we already have three decent 4-mana creatures. So at this point, I'm trying to decide if Aspect of Lamprey is good enough or if we should just play this big attacker. Aspect is better if your creatures can't be blocked because you want to give lifelink to something that can hit many, many times over. None of these creatures are going to be good to give it to. I guess Priest is okay because it can have First Strike. Putting lifelink on Harpy is good. Putting lifelink on Phoenix is good. Putting lifelink on Shepherd is dangerous because like this is already a target. But it would be good. So there's a couple things that could get lifelink and be okay. Is that better than just having a potential win condition? Sack a creature, gets Menace. It's a 5/5 Menace. Or do we just play this 4/4? We need to put one more card in our deck. I think because we are a little bit short on like interaction, maybe making our opponent discard 2 cards is actually good for us. Because rather like we're not going to be able to kill their really big creatures. So if we can get them to discard them, is that a decent strategy? Maybe. I'm not sure if the last card should be this Aspect or this Horde Leader. So I'm going to start with the Aspect and see where we end up. So 23 cards in our deck, a good amount of creatures. We're a little bit light on removal spells. We didn't see any of the Mire's Grasp, which would have been a really good card. The 2-mana -3/-3 enchantment. Way better than Omen. But I think this deck is okay. And let's go ahead and put some lands into it. We're going to count Traveler's Amulet as a land. And then we have a pretty even mix of black and red in our deck. And it looks like we would rather play an extra mountain if we had to, because we have these double-costed red cards. And our early drops are both black and red. So if I had to, I would rather play more mountains. But because we're going to have 17 land effects, we'll just do 8 and 8 in this deck. If we didn't have the Traveler's Amulet, we would do 9 mountains and 8 swamps, just because it'll be easier to cast our 3-mana cards. And yeah, that is the deck. I'm going to take a picture of it and just have that. I just take a screenshot and then I put it into Microsoft Paint. I just have it with me so I can reference it later. Because sometimes during the middle of the game, you want to know if you're likely to draw something good or what are your potential ways to come back if you're really far behind, and it can help inform how you play the game. So we'll do that, and we'll jump into the matches here and see what we can do in Theros. As with any draft, disclaimer, totally possible that we go 0-3, totally possible that we go 1-3. We're hoping not to. I mean, we could go 7-0, but I don't think you can necessarily focus too much on your win record. I think you need to focus, like when you're trying to determine if a draft was successful, you need to focus on, did you find an open lane and did you build the best deck you could? This is a sketchy hand because all the cards we have to play are black and we only have mountains and we go first. But if we draw Swamp, is this hand good? Not really. It's kind of slow. So I think I might actually mulligan this, which is kind of awful, but okay, this is already better. We are going to probably get rid of Omen of the Dead. I think every other card in here is better than that. So we're going to keep this. Get rid of Omen. Oh, Grego, we got the Nissa sleeves. They are the... what is it called? They're the default now. We set them to the default. So every single deck has Nissa sleeves now. Yeah, these are pretty sweet. Picked these up the other day. Really like these ones. What do we do here? Do we play this 1-3? Probably. I think in general you just want to get creatures out if you can. If they don't play anything, we can start chipping in for damage. Okay, well, our opponent with a nice 2-drop here, 2/1 first strike. Don't really care about Planeswalker abilities. And now we can use Traveler's Amulet, find a second black mana, and play Omen or play this. I think we probably play Ragehound and then Omen this so we can attack next turn. So I want to have red mana up. So I'm going to tap my Swamp, use Traveler's Amulet, find a Swamp. Play the Ragehound. I can actually attack with this Lampad too, because like they're not gonna block here, right? I should have attacked first. That's a play mistake. I apologize for that. Should have attacked first. Not that it matters, but oh wow, okay. Well, I'm gonna be very happy to Omen this now. That kind of, I don't know. I don't like Sentinel's Eyes, but I would normally play the Shepherd here and not attack. But this Ragehound has to attack every turn, and I don't want it to just die to this first striker. So I'm going to be a little bit mana inefficient just to be more efficient with my resources, and then smash in for 4 here. That is sort of the liability with this Ragehound, is that it has to attack every turn. Ooh, this is a nice deck. Nice, nice card as well. Exile Enchantment, get a 2/2 zombie. This card is really good. If you have a chance to draft this card, I think it's definitely worth having. So, but yeah, I mean, I think we're going to play our land. We're gonna play Shepherd before combat because if they trade with Ragehound, then we get a 1/1 of it, which isn't great, but it's something we can sack to Lampad later. And we might actually attack with this Lampad as well, because I'm totally happy if they double block it and trade off. So let's just smash in. And again, the goal of this deck is to get our opponent's life total down far enough that we can just start sacrificing creatures. And do I want to exile this? I think I would rather keep it. I don't really want a 1/1. Although the opponent isn't going to be able to block super well. See, the problem is if we want the 1/1 right now, we have to exile Rage Hound, and I would rather escape it later, but I think we're just going to be as aggressive as we can here. I don't know if this is the right play necessarily, but I'll take it. Just because our opponent is stuck on mana. If they weren't stuck on mana, I would never do that. But they're not going to be able to block this particularly well. I guess they don't even get the 2/2 out of this. Oh, I guess they do get the 2/2 here. Okay. It would be nice to be able to play Catoblepa to get rid of this turn, but let's go ahead and just smash in. And again, we'll smash in with everything here. They're likely to block the 1/1. So now we can spend mana, sacrifice this, deal some damage, and we'll just play this 2/2 here. I'm hoping that at some point we draw a land and Catoblepa is going to be able to get rid of something that has up to 6 toughness. Yeah, that's good. Destroy target creature. So now we can sack it in response. That's the other nice thing about these kind of effects is that it makes your opponent's removal just slightly worse, because you can still sacrifice your creatures to get the extra value. So, but now we are potentially in trouble. If we can resolve Catoblepa this turn, I think we're going to be good, but nice. And I think based on how this is going, we probably just kill this 2/2, smash in for 3. Again, the idea is we're trying to get our opponent's life total down far enough that we can just sack everything with Lampad and win. So their 2/1 flyer also doesn't block this 2/2 because it's an enchantment. So it makes it kind of tough for them to come back from. Nice. Well, we got one. Are we really in Platinum 4? I guess I haven't drafted since the season switched, so or I've been drafting traditional, or I've been doing the cube draft. So are we, yeah, okay, yeah. Well, we're in Platinum. That's awesome. That means it's been almost 2 weeks since my last ranked draft. Nothing wrong with that, though. Okay, this hand's awesome. Turn 2 Rage Hound, turn 3 a Nax. Even if they trade off with the Rage Hound, we get a 1/1. Very happy that we ended up going into red here. We ended up with some really nice red cards. Traveler's Amulet, nice. Oh, and our Phoenix. We have a very aggressive hand. This is awesome. We definitely play Rage Hound on turn 2. I'm not sure which of these 2 cards is going to be better to play. My inclination is to play a Nax first. But if they play something that doesn't let us attack that well, if they play a big blocker, then I would play the Phoenix. So it can fly over. Opponent deciding whether or not to use this Traveler's Amulet. I don't know what they're doing here, but the reason I want to play a Nax is because it's the more aggressive play, because if they kill our creatures, we get 1/1s. And the Underworld Rage Hound has to attack. So if they trade off with it, we kill their creature and we get a 1/1, which is kind of nice. But we'll see what the opponent does here, and we can pick. We even have the Scavenging Harpy if we really wanted to. Okay, so they're not doing anything here. That means that they might have a counter spell. And remember that the one counter spell in this format exiles the card. So playing, like, normally if I thought they had a counter spell, I might play the Phoenix because it can come back later as an escape card. But because their card might just exile what we have, I think what we'll do is we'll attack first. Like, it's a little bit sketchy that my opponent didn't play anything here. So we'll attack. And then, because both of these cards are really good, I'm just going to play my other 3-drop. I think this card is fine. It can also attack as a 3/4 next turn if we play an axe after this. So I'm going to give them the opportunity to counter the Stampede Rider. If we didn't draw the Stampede Rider, I would just run out an axe. Like, I'm not going to be that worried about a counter spell. But because we have other options, I'm just going to do this. Okay, Stern Dismissal. That's fine. Problem with Stern Dismissal is if you have nothing in play, it doesn't really do anything. Like, they spent all of their turn 3 bouncing one of our cards. It's not that good. Okay, so they played a 3/2 and they get a 2/3 out of the deal later. To be the most mana efficient we can, I think we're probably going to just play this 3/3 after we attack. I assume that they block here. And then I'm going to play the 3/3, which their card doesn't block particularly well. This also fills our graveyard so that we can play the Rage Hound. We can even play this next turn as a 4/2 if we wanted to. If we draw a land, we're going to play this Rage Hound plus a 3 mana card. If we don't draw a land, we might just play this as a 4/2. Although it doesn't attack particularly well into Illyrios, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But we certainly have enough creatures in our hand. I would really like to get some of these into play. Don't know what this card does. Sacrifice an enchantment. Search your library for a creature with mana equal to 1 plus the enchantment's value. Put that card on the battlefield. I am not worried about that card. I mean, there's a situation where we get absolutely wrecked by some giant creature, but opponent doesn't even have any enchantments in play. But I mean, they put this card in their deck for a reason, so they must have a good card. Let's go ahead and smash in. Normally, this card's really nice because it can be aggressive, but it's also a defensive card. And now, because we drew a land, we want to play 2 things. So we're going to play Rage Hound. And we'll just play the Stampede Rider again. Next turn, we'll get a 4-power creature into play so that this can attack into Illyrios. Either this Rage Hound, or we can play a Nax next turn, which will be a 2/3, a 4/3. And then this attacks as a 3/4, this attacks as a 3/1. Okay, Aspect of Lamprey. So a little bit annoying. I'm going to get rid of the Phoenix because we can escape it later. And I'll get rid of the Harpy because it's worse than an Axe. And they're getting rid of the Aspect to get a 5-drop. Okay, that's a good turn for them. I don't know if a 5/3 is necessarily what they wanted there, but we definitely want to play a 4-power creature so that this can attack into both of these. I think we probably just... Well, no, we probably play an Axe. That way if they trade off, we get some 1/1s. It's a little bit mana inefficient, but we can also play this Temple Thief. Yeah, that's probably for the best. And smashy, smashy. Yeah, that's fine with us. I don't care. They can trade off whatever they want here. It doesn't matter to me. There's a little bit of an issue if they keep this, because that means they can grab a 6-mana creature from their deck next turn. But sacrificing a 5/3 to get a 6-mana creature when we have this many creatures in play doesn't sound like a winning recipe to me. Like, we have so much power and toughness here. This can't even block this. Next turn, we're going to play probably Phoenix to smash it in the air. We could also play one of these Rage Hounds to make the Stampede Rider better. Just have to see what happens. Lionfish? Okay. That's a little bit annoying, because if they play a card on our turn, they can tap one of our creatures, but... Yeah, well, okay, so they sacrificed the 5/3 to get their 6/7. Well, now we just play a flyer, right? We attack with this 2/2, which can't be blocked. We attack with our Death Touch creature because we're happy if it trades for the Colossus. And we attack with this flyer. We could also give something indestructible. No, I think we attack with the flyer, the unblockable, and the Death Toucher this turn. So this is the power of the escape cards. 1, 2, 3. They're gonna get to play an instant here. I imagine they might have another Stern Dismissal. Like, Stern Dismissal with Lionfish is actually pretty decent. So we'll see what they do here. They might tap the Phoenix, or if they kill Phoenix, tap Temple Thief. That's kind of annoying. Let's see what they do. Is there a situation where we attack with everything? Okay, Starlit Mantle, sure. So tap an axe. That's okay. Surprising that they didn't tap the 3/3 there. Because they can't block this, right? Can't be blocked by enchanted or enchantment creatures. So this can't be blocked. This can't be blocked because it flies. And I'm happy if they trade off here with the Death Toucher. So they're blocking 1, 2 things, and they take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's not worth attacking with these 2 creatures. And they have to block something, otherwise they die. So they do have to block here, which is totally fine. Down to 3. And now if they can't kill Phoenix, they lose. Plus we have like a million creatures, so. Yeah, okay, awesome. Well, good job, deck. Deck seems to be working pretty well. And we'll keep humming along here. Thanks everybody who's coming out to watch the stream this morning. Got pretty started today. No, that wasn't a sentence. Got started pretty early today just because I was awake and it's Saturday, and hoping to go play some tennis later for the 3rd time in my life now. So wanted to get the stream done. I know that Theros just started yesterday, the Quick Draft Theros, so I wanted to get this video out just in case anybody wanted to watch it and then do some quick drafts of their own using Theros. If you are just tuning into the stream now, all these live streams go on to YouTube on the channel. And at the beginning of the stream, we did do a sort of introduction of Theros. We looked through the collection, saw which commons and uncommons might be signals. And so if you want to go check that out, you certainly can. Destiny Spinner is annoying. Eventually something we want to kill. Here we have our pick of 2 drops. It doesn't really matter which one. I'm going to play Lampad because it blocks Destiny Spinner. If we play the Piper, they're going to attack us and we can't really block. So I'm just going to play the thing that can block right now. And then next turn, we're probably playing Phoenix. Just because it can start attacking right away. Like, Anax doesn't attack particularly well on its own right now. Oh, wow. Okay. Opponent ramping up. And make a mental note that they can make a land at 2/2. What I'm hoping to do is... maybe we do play Anax. Just in case they kill one of our cards, we get 1/1s. It also works well with Lampad. Next turn, we can play Blessing, kill their Destiny Spinner. Which card would I rather have the +1/+1? The Phoenix or the Anax? I guess Phoenix is a safer pick, and the reason why is that green and white both have enchantment removal cards, and a Nax is an enchantment. So I'm actually going to go with the card that's not the enchantment because I don't want them to just play like a Return to Nature or something. This also gives us a bit more of an aggressive play, and our deck wants to be the aggressive deck. So just playing around the green-white enchantment removal there. Oh, nice. Moss Viper. Like, we wouldn't want to attack an Axe into Moss Viper anyway. They did leave up mana, which is a little bit scary. I wonder if we're just supposed to attack first and then play Blessing. Or maybe we're supposed to attack first and then just play Hierophant. Because I assume they have something here. Like, why wouldn't they play one of their cards unless they just want to scry? Okay. I think we'll just be as mana efficient as possible. This only makes 2/2s. It's not that big of a deal yet, so I'll just play the creature that looks pretty good on this board. Maybe we'll mill one of our escape cards. Nice. Ooh. Actually, Omen would have been good here for the Moss Viper, but I'm not going to be worried about that. Would have been nice to have this, but... Or even Grim Physician, actually, would have been good for the Moss Viper, but... Okay, we're not going to be broken up about that. Okay. 6/7 Colossus. Well, now I'm glad that we have the Flyer, because we can still be aggressive. I'm glad we have the Death Toucher, because it blocks the 6/7. Now we have 5 mana. Nightmare Shepherd is really good. It's not as good with all these escape cards, but it's really good with everything else, right? So they're tapped out. Maybe this is the turn we kill Destiny Spinner. This card does get annoying later on if they get a whole bunch of enchantments. And right now they can make lands into 3/3s, which is pretty good against us. So I'm going to take this turn to use Iroas's Blessing. And when you play these, you enchant your creature, and then it deals damage to their creature. So we'll go ahead and do this. I'm not going to attack with the 3/3 because I don't want to just trade with their 1/1. So we'll smash in and see what happens. Hero of the Pride. Okay. Soul Guide Lantern. Exile opponent's graveyard. Okay. I don't know if Soul Guide Lantern is that good of a card in Quick Draft. This is a really good card to have in your sideboard if you're playing best of 3. Because sometimes you just... Like, against our deck, Soul Guide Lantern is really good because we have a ton of escape. I don't know if this card is worth having in your deck, though, in best of 1. But it is good to know that at any point in time, they can exile our graveyard. So if they, like, kill this or something. No other good attacks here. We have 5 mana, so I think what we're going to do... we'll probably just play the Flyer. We're not attacking on the ground. Normally I would play 2 ground creatures, but because we're not attacking on the ground, I'm going to play another Flyer, and hopefully our Flyers are going to be good enough to get them. Because this is 7 damage next turn. 8-9 damage if we pump up the Phoenix. And remember, the goal of this deck is just to get them low enough that we can sacrifice everything we own to Lampad. And actually, Lampad with Shepherd is nice because we can get double value. Like, this is 2 creatures, this is 2 creatures. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, we can deal up to 6 damage with this in a single turn right now. Because Shepherd creates token creatures when we lose stuff. So, yeah. This game's pretty much done. And we drew the second land anyway, so. Go ahead, smash in. Opponent's gonna draw a card to try and get a 1 white mana card. Pump this. Smash in. And then we'll use the lamp pad. The reason I use the lamp pad to finish them off rather than pump the Phoenix a second time is just in case there was some card. I don't think there is one in this format, but just in case they did happen to have something that killed this, I wanted to make sure we dealt the damage there first. So lamp pad of Death's Vigil, definitely a sneaky high priority card. Like, I always want this card. We took this card really highly. We took this like second or third pick in pack 2. Like, it's just very good. So very happy with this deck so far. I think it was right to go into red, and I think it was right to try and build a more aggressive red-black deck. We don't have a ton of good top end finishers. Our deck is definitely about attacking as much as we can early and then draining them with lamp pad. So another great hand. 2-drop, 3-drop, removal spell, combat trick. This is what our deck does. And actually giving this +2/+0 isn't the worst. If our opponent plays a whole bunch of enchantment creatures, this is going to be able to smash in pretty effectively. So I probably want to use Omen on the first non-enchantment creature they have, just so that I can clear the way for Temple Thief a little bit better. What's this? Okay. Yeah, this card looks cool. I've never had a ton of success with this card, but I think it's neat. We are currently 3-0 Madison. Humming along nicely with this very aggressive black-red build. Offer the trade. And then we're just going to run out the Harpy. I mean, we lose the added benefit of exiling a card from a graveyard, but I'm not going to be worried about that. Are we 2-0 or 3-0? I don't know. We haven't lost yet, but I don't know if that means we're 2-0 or 3-0. I can't actually remember, Greg. Reflection token. Okay, well, I want to save this aspect until they have less cards in hand, I think. Although, that is kind of backbreaking right away, right? Do we attack with everything and then use Aspect of the Manticore? Probably not. I don't really want to pump this up necessarily. We could play Lampad, Omen this, attack for 4. That seems better. Again, we want to be the aggressive deck here. Especially if we start gaining life off of Aspect. Like, we're happy to get into a damage race where they attack us, deal damage, we attack them, deal damage. Especially if we have this life linker. So, see what happens. Just so many wins piling up. That's right, Ryan. You should have seen me playing Cube yesterday. It was not pretty. This is just making up for all the Cube losses. Okay, 3/3 Death Touch. Well, that's kind of a nice one to attack into because we have the Aspect. I'm not attacking with Lampad, but there's no reason not to keep our aggressive bent going. And then if they don't block, we can play Aspect. Get them there. If they double block Temple Thief, that's not great for us, but single blocking is fine. So again, we're just trying to be as aggressive as possible. And now our Temple Thief actually trades for the Hierophant, which is kind of nice. So we can keep attacking them there. I don't know if we will. If they choose not to attack us this turn, we'll probably just attack with the Harpy and save this. I mean, the fact that this is unblockable is kind of annoying. Is it always unblockable? Yeah, it is. When one or more cards, yeah. So that is something to be worried about. But again, we're going to start gaining life potentially. Ooh, okay. So the opponent knows what's up. They also have the Lampad. This is going to be a Lampad versus Lampad battle. I think we're favored because of the lifelink, but we're going to have to be a little bit careful here. Lampad doesn't block Temple Thief. Hierophant does. We can give our Temple Thief indestructible this turn. Or we could just get rid of their last two cards. That's probably the better play. Get rid of their last two cards, attack for 2 in the air with lifelink. Yeah, that just has to be better, right? Let's see what we got. Oh, man. Shimmerwing Chimera is so good. And because we have the Berserker, I don't really want to just trade Temple Thief for Hierophant. I want to play this next turn, make Temple Thief indestructible. So I'm just going to attack with the lifelinking Harpy now. Lamprey? Oh, Lamprey. Yeah. Lamprey. There's a lot of lamping going on here. It's kind of like glamping, except with magic. Oh, man. Awesome. So if they don't want to take 7 this turn, they have to chump block with Hierophant. And they can't even sack it to their lamp. That's awesome. This is why Rage Scarred Berserker is a great card to have on your top end. It's just going to make this attack so good, right? Like, they can't kill this now. And they can't chump block it with these, so they have to get rid of a real creature. Lampad of Death's Vigil. Honestly, if I have to think back, oh, they're just gonna lose, right? We untap, we sack 3 things, and they lose, unless we get into a lamp battle. When I think back on Theros, this is the card I remember the most, which is ridiculous because it's just this like junky 2-mana black card, but that's all I think about is like lamping people with this card. That's game, right? They can sack 3 things, so they're effectively at 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's game over. You want to make sure you do your math right when you're lamping, but right, we deal 2 to them. They go down to 1. They can gain 3 life. They go to 4. And then we sack 1, 2, 3, 4 things and kill them. Right? This doesn't do anything. This doesn't do anything. This doesn't do anything. They are at 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, seems good to me. This can sack itself. Honestly, Lampad's going to win all of our games for us. Watch us do the math wrong and lose. I think this works. I hope someone in the chat would tell me if my math was wrong. Right on. All right. In the way, just trust me. We haven't lost yet. And we're going to keep humming along. Yeah, the slow lamp showdown. That's right, Ryan. Oh man, that was scary at the end though, because like if you do your math wrong, you sacrifice your whole board and then you lose. But I think it is better just to take the guaranteed win while they're like effectively tapped out with no lands in hand or cards in hand. If they had a card in hand, I wouldn't have done that. But because they had absolutely no resources, I think it's worth doing. So, all right, Traveler's Amulet. That's my amulet, man. They used to call me the Traveler in university. What does this do? Another creature, except it has this ability. So if we play Mogus, they get a Mogus, and their deck isn't based around sacrificing. Is that okay? Yeah, I think that's fine. This card, I haven't seen this card be good. I don't think it's awful. I've never picked it, and usually you don't get this card later in the draft because people seem to like it. So I've never played with this card, but it just becomes a copy of the best card in play. I think that is good. I think Thaumaturge is actually a decent card for that reason. Here, we're just going to play Stampede Rider after we attack. There is some world where they instant speed play. Ooh, actually, is that worth thinking about? If they instant speed play Indomitable Will, make their guy a 2/2, make them into a 3/4, that's pretty bad for us, right? Like, that has to be what their deck is based around. Why wouldn't they play a 3-mana card? I might just not attack here. I don't want to get wrecked by Indomitable Will. The Daily Traveler. That's right, Ryan. Yeah, I mean, they could play Indomitable Will and make this into a 3/5. Oh, Starlit Mantle. Oh, see, this is the amazing content you can expect on the Daily Travesty, where you don't walk into Starlit Mantle. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. 3/6 hexproof trample. Doesn't interact well with Death Touch. And it becomes a copy of the biggest thing. So I think that's how you're supposed to play Protean Thaumaturge, is you just suit them up with a whole bunch of stuff and then they're really hard to kill. And like a 3/6, like Aspect of the Manticore doesn't even help us here. Blessing. Maybe we just play Lamprey and get rid of their other cards so they can't do more shenanigans. Like, we can't even use Final Death here. Wow. My plan with this card is going to be to attack with a 4-power creature and use Aspect. Obviously, we don't have that yet. So I think... And we can't sacrifice... Oh, this is permanence. So we can actually sacrifice Traveler's Amulet, make this into a 4/2, and then play Aspect to make it into a 6/2 first strike. Sweet. Let's do that. That's why, yeah, that's actually a neat interaction with Traveler's Amulet here. And if they just take it, we'll just play Aspect this turn. Yeah, nice. Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, attack with the Priest. Amulet plus Manticore. I want the Priest in play more than the Rider, so I'm going to equip the Rider. To make it a juicier target. I would rather they kill this than this, because this is the only thing that can attack into the Rider. 2 lands. Oops. Oh no. Okay. Well, that's super annoying. Here's the commanding presence we talked about during the signals. Like this card could just kill us on its own. It's gonna make a bunch of 1/1s. This thing has trample now. Oh my gosh. This is how you're supposed to play the Thaumaturge. I shouldn't have talked crap about it before. Yeah, I mean, no blocks. It is kind of nice that we have lifelink here. So we're at least going to be able to pad our life total a little bit. And we can just smash in. We can actually use Iroas's Blessing here, kill their token, make... We can't make anything bigger to make this bigger. I think what we'll do is again, we want the lifelink to be bigger, so we're going to target this. That Thaumaturge is crazy, man. At least it doesn't copy the benefits of the enchantments, right? So we got ourselves an old-fashioned race. The issue with this is that every time they hit us, they make a 1/1. So they're actually favored to win this race. Although we're gaining life. If we draw something big, this can get trample. It's kind of tough to say. But the problem is, like, if we draw something bigger, they can just make their creature bigger too. So, the old commanding presence plus mirror shield trick, hey? Ooh, that's annoying too. That means that they're going to be able to race really well. So Sunmane Pegasus is probably something that we're going to want to kill with our final death. They can't give it lifelink this turn, so I think we're just going to attack first. And then if they block this, we can use the Traveler's Amulet. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, this thing always has trample. Oh, that's cool. So we're always dealing damage. It just gets a power boost if we have a power 4 creature. That's kind of nice. I'm going to use Final Death right away, just in case they draw like another Starlit Mantle or something. I don't want them to protect the Pegasus. And that is something worth noting about instant speed removal. The first thought you have is, oh, I'm going to save it because it's an instant. But if your opponent doesn't have any cards in hand, sometimes you just play instant speed removal on your turn so that they don't get you with like a counter spell or something. Ooh, the Deer Kraken is nice. This is a card you want in Theros. Every single turn you get a 1/1 and this thing gets bigger. That's really nice. Well, we've drawn enough lands, deck. I wonder if we can kill them here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we can't quite kill them. We're just going to attack and we'll hold up our effects. But 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So they're dealing 9 damage to us next turn. We're going to gain life off of this. Yeah, this is a really interesting race. Kind of tough to say what's going to happen here. Like, they're going to start putting up more blockers and stuff, which is annoying. But we are in a position where we could kill them. I mean, if they keep attacking with Stampede Rider, there's probably some benefit to them making this a copy of Deer Kraken at some point. 9 damage to us. Yeah, you got it. So we need... I don't think we can win, actually. I think we need a way to kill these. Well, Grim Physician's not awful. I think we have to attack with Stampede Rider. This is going to deal 6 damage to us with Trample. So we need to gain a ton of life. That doesn't really work. I guess we could block this with our own first striker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, it's still not big enough, hey? It's kind of tough. I expect that we just lose this turn. Unless we can get them for 3, 4, 5, 6. Because we can make this lethal and this lethal, and then they block this and we can't get them. Because this can be a 3, 4, 5, 6. And we can sack this to kill a token. Actually, I think we win this turn. And here's how it's going to work. Physician to clear out a blocker and get the 4 power boost before combat. Yeah, Ryan. Exactly. Yeah, you got it, Ryan. You are the master strategist. Okay, so what happens if we just attack? They chump block this. They block this. They take 4 damage. 5 damage. We sack this to kill the thing. Okay, I think we attack first because we can... This has trample, yeah. So I think we attack first. And if they double block this, they lose. If they single block this, we sacrifice Grim Physician. Yeah. Nice. Oh boy, that was a good game. That was super close. That's a game where, like, if I was playing against someone in real life, I'd be like, "Whoa, good game, man," or lady, or individual, and yeah, wow. You see, Protean Thaumaturge, not that good, right? No problem. No problem. Deer Kraken is crazy, though. This card is definitely first pickable. Wow. Okay. Anyway, thanks, Patty Laddie. Patty Laddie, how's your morning going? That was crazy. Yeah, Ryan, you got to the solution just before I did. Smart man. 5-0 is not bad. If anyone's just tuning in, we'll take a quick look at the deck, and so far this deck has been pretty smooth. We first picked some really good white cards, and then it was very clear in pack 1 that white wasn't open. We were getting all black. We were also seeing a lot of junky red cards that we didn't want, but we still made note of it because that can be a signal that red is open. Even if they're junky cards, it can still tell you that the good red cards might come around later. We ended up with some decent red cards in pack 2, Anax, Phoenix of the Ash, and we had to speculate on those. Like, we took these pick 1 and pick 2, I think, out of pack 2. And because we had seen the junky red cards in pack 1, we knew that we could take these and maybe get paid off for it. And then we did. And we ended up with a pretty sweet, very aggressive red-black deck with cards like 3 Rage Hounds, which are okay. I don't think these cards are that good, but we needed the 2 drops. Lampad is a MVP. This card just wins so many games for you. Rage Scarred Berserker was really nice 2 games ago. And yeah, having the ability to sack Grim Physician in that last game was a huge plus for us. I think the aspect of Lamprey is playing out really well. I'm actually quite happy we put this card in our deck. I think that was a good pickup and better than putting just a random 5-mana creature in our deck. Having the extra lifelink has saved us in the last 2 games. We've been able to race much better. And I think in an aggressive deck like this, having access to lifelink actually helps you win more games. Because if your opponent is also hitting you back, you get that little bit of bump every turn and can run away with it. So let's go ahead and keep the games rolling. Hope you guys are having an awesome morning. I'm very much enjoying this Theros draft, and I hope that you guys get a chance to play some Theros. in general, I would rather they bring back the old draft formats as premier drafts. I would rather play player drafts and draft against real people. I actually don't understand why the... Oh, I guess I do understand. I was going to say, I don't understand why the bot drafts exist. I think I understand it because it's a way for new players to have a lot of time to consider their picks. And that's probably the only benefit. This hand's fine. Lands and a bunch of creatures we can play. For me, there's no advantage to bot drafting now that they have the infrastructure for player draft. The only thing I could see, like, there's two reasons. One, somebody was put on the job of making bot draft, so like they already have that. Why not include it? Would be the thought, but it's just so inferior to... Oh man, opponent's got the lamp pad. We're gonna play our 3/1 because we want to deal as much damage as we can. They're incentivized to block it, and we want to kill their creatures. And if they don't block it, we deal more damage than the thief. So, yeah. Oh, right on, Patty Laddie. That's good. See, you do it right. You do your chores in the morning. I wake up at 7 a.m. and start streaming, and that means all the things I need to do today haven't been done yet. Yeah, I'm totally happy to trade this for either of these cards. So let's smash in. I assume they don't block here, but... Oh, okay. That's fine. Get their lamp pad out of the way, man. That thing is scary good. And here, I think we probably play Temple Thief. Because if they don't play another creature, we can attack through this enchantment creature. Ooh, Madison. So there's Dominaria Premier Draft coming. Dominaria was sweet. I will definitely be drafting Dominaria. You can, and because it's Premier Draft, that's even better. You can look forward to some daily Travesty Dominaria drafts because Dominaria was like a sweet format. It's just really control based, really powerful decks. A lot of good deck building like synergies and stuff. What's this do? Exile 2 cards from graveyards. For each creature exiled, gain 1 life. Well, that's probably a reason to play Ragehound this turn. Because they're definitely exiling it. And then they return a creature from their graveyard to their hand. Lampad? Normally I would play Nightmare Shepherd here, but because they're going to exile Ragehound, I'll just play the Ragehound after combat. Do your stuff after combat, people. Unless there's a reason to do it before, but let's do this. So Madison, Dominaria was fun but difficult. So many bad cards. Yeah, well that's the thing. Like, I think that makes the drafting more fun when there's like when there's like really bad cards and you're just trying to scrap together a deck that's serviceable. Like, I think that's more fun. I like the lower power games better. Maybe I'm just being a little bit biased because I've been doing awful at Cube, but I actually prefer these like low power decks when your opponent has a low power deck. I mean, obviously you want a high power deck if they do, but here we're just going to be most mana efficient we can. We're going to play our aggressive cards. And then next turn, we might drop Nightmare Shepherd so that Stampede Rider gets a power boost so that it can attack through Soul Reaper. And if they trade off for like this Ragehound, we can maybe get a 1/1 out of the deal. Liar's really good. They can't tap anything we have currently. So I think we just stick with the plan. I want to play a 4 power creature so that this is a 3/4 so that it can attack. Yeah, Dominaria is slow and dirtily, and that's what I like. Like even that last game that one we just played, that was a race, that was a back and forth, but there was a lot of like pretty interesting decision points for us. And I like that. I like having bad decks that make you make interesting decisions. Yeah, that makes sense. That's okay. I mean, we still get the ability off of this. It still pumps up Stampede Rider, so they have to block and they take 5 this turn. And then we kill them with Lampad. So Lampad, another game where Lampad's going to win. I guess we could also just play Phoenix. That's probably the safer play to start with. Smash with everything. And then Lampad wins the game. Sure. I mean, we could probably just pass, but let's just get the win here. Awesome. Lampad of Death's Vigil, man. That is just, wow, that's just the it's the cream of the 2-drop crop. It's the crop top. It's the top of the 2-drop crop. Oh boy. Not gonna say anything. I don't know what's nice, Ryan. Not gonna say anything. I didn't see anything. Damn it, Madison. Why? You know we're going 0-3 at this point. You know we're going to lose the next 3. Yeah. Yeah, sure there is a such thing as a jinx. You are the jinx. You know we're losing the next 3. We're going to lose to this like mono-white aggressive deck. Look at them go. They're going to play an enchantment. Oh, yeah. So this is a deck that, like, I don't know if we can necessarily lose to this. Like, we're attacking. We don't care what they trade for because Hero of the Pride makes any creature scary. We could technically play these two. Let's see what they do on blocks, and then we'll decide if we play the 2/3 or these. Because they blocked there, I think... If they pump this, it kills Stampede Rider. But if they pump it, Grim Physician still trades. So I think against a white creature deck, I would rather just have more creatures in play. This also gives us the ability to sacrifice Grim Physician later to kill an X1 if they play a really good 1 toughness creature. So I'm just going to start like this. No blocks if they attack. Okay. Ooh, Nightmare Shepherd is going to be good against their deck. I think I just attack with Grim Physician here, honestly. I'm happy if they trade. I don't really want to trade the Slaughter Priest for Hero. Play the Stampede Rider so you can unleash a 4-power guy. Oh, there's our boy. Or our nymph. Likely female. They seem to be female presenting. And nymphs tend to be females, right? In history. We could technically Omen to get this Ragehound back. I think because they... what are they going to do? They're going to give this Indomitable Will, which is going to make it a 4/4. Which means that it can do whatever. I know that was super specific. I'll attack with these, whatever. If they want to use Indomitable Will, we can give this first strike. +2/+0. Like, why didn't their white creature deck play a creature last turn? Probably because they have a combat trick. That's my thought. Like last game where it was the hexproof one. Here I think it's +2, +1/+2 enchantment, Indomitable Will. And I just want to play around that. So this is totally fine. And then I think what we do is we play Omen and replay Ragehound. just build up our board. And if we ever get 4 mana, oh boy, watch out. Oh, they're okay. So they're a white-green deck. Maybe that's why they didn't play anything last turn. They might have been stuck on mana. Here's one of the legendary god enchantments. It's never going to be a creature because they're stuck on green mana. Creature spells cost 1 less to cast. And you can put creatures into your hand. Yeah, I'm not worried about this card. I think we're just attacking with everything here now. We probably play this Lampad first so that whatever... Oh no, we want to trade off. We do want to trade here, so we'll just attack with everything. I don't care what they block. I don't even care. Yeah, that makes sense. And now we just play the most expensive card we have. It's also an aggressive card because if they play a ground creature, they can't block it. I don't think there's any sweepers in Theros. Not that I would play around it here, but at this point in the game, it's always worth thinking about, like, what happens if they play Wrath of God. But our hand is actually pretty good, so I'm not too worried about it. If we don't draw anything to play... Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, boy. If this is a 3-4, that's nice. They don't block. This they probably could block. This they don't really want to block. This they would block as well. So I think what we do here is attack. Do we play Shepherd and then just attack with this? Probably. I want to play Nightmare Shepherd anyway. Nightmare Shepherd also blocks this really well. 3. Oh. Sometimes if you take too long to make decisions, your opponent will just win the game for you. I don't think they should concede there, but I mean, they are pretty far behind. So, okay. What's our record? Where did we end up there? I didn't note it before the match. Could be anything. Oh, okay. 7-0. Right on. Okay, good for us. That was sweet. That was a great Theros draft. I think we definitely got lucky. Like, you can't look at that draft and be like, oh, Daily Travesty got 7-0. He's really good. Like, how many of our opponents got mana screwed? At least that last opponent was mana screwed. There are probably other times where our opponents got mana screwed. There's times where we got probably really lucky with our card draws. We didn't get mana screwed at all. And that's something worth noting. Because, like, I think normally if you play a draft, you're going to lose at least 1 or 2 games to mana screw just on natural variance. So although this deck is very good, I was actually quite happy with how the deck turned out, and it was a very nice aggressive build with some synergies. Don't fool yourself into thinking this is like the best deck in the world because it went 7-0. It's just we didn't get mana screwed ever, and our opponents did sometimes. So still happy for the 7-0. We played really well. I think the best game was against that Thaumaturge, the Protean Thaumaturge, the one in a blue copy a thing that they just suited up with all the equipment. That was our best game. And because we were in a race and we got really lucky, right? That last turn, we were dead. Like, we were absolutely dead. And then we top-decked Grim Physician, which of all cards was the one card we could have drawn that saved us the game, because it interacted with their tokens well and interacted well with the trample. So awesome games. Super happy for everyone that came to check out the stream today. Yeah, Patio Lady, go check it. This was an interesting draft. This was a textbook trying to find the open lane draft, and I think we did really well with it. So really happy with how the deck played out. Glad you guys came out to hang out with me this morning, and I hope that you guys have an awesome Saturday. This has been the Daily Travesty, and we'll chat to you later.